Status. I'm Pumla Schmidt, and you can find me on Twitter as the Exchange Goddess. And I'm here with my co-host, Teresa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Miller. I'm very excited for this evening's episode of Current Status, and you can find me on Twitter at 24/7 IT Connect.
And tonight we actually have two guests. Our very special guest is Gina. She is from Spanning Backup. And then we have...
Hello.
I think we lost Teresa.
Oh, I'm here.
No.
You can't hear me?
We can hear you.
Uh-oh. For real? You can't hear me?
We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I never went anywhere. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Can you see me?
Yes. But Pumala looks like we might have lost Pumala.
I'm on mute.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so let's keep the show rolling, right? So, Gina?
Oh, hi. I'm Gina Minks, aka Rosenthal, and I've been here before. It's had me back, so I can talk now that I'm officially at Spanning. It'll be kind of fun.
Thanks for joining us, Gina. We're excited to have you. So it looks like we're going to be talking backups this evening, off to the cloud, and what it means for organizations. You know, do we even need to be thinking about backups in the cloud? Why or why not? So, so you've been working with Spanning for a little while, but you've been in the industry for a long time. So what are your thoughts about to the cloud and backups in general?
Well, first I think you have to define what to the cloud is, and Microsoft was nice enough to build that amazing marketing campaign to send everyone to the cloud. But when people start talking about backups to the cloud, I think first of all you have to define what are you a company that does SaaS to SaaS backup. So we help with the gaps that are left from a SaaS organization, a SaaS application provider. The gaps there are between what they protect while they're responsible for the data and what actually happens, what users can do, what admins can do, what unintended mistakes or malicious mistakes can happen to make you lose data in between. So we back up actually from the SaaS applications we support, which are Salesforce, Google Apps, and Office 365, to we back up to our application, to our cloud, and we restore right back into the application. But sometimes when you say cloud backup, you could be talking about, hey, I put all of these files onto a cloud, onto my cloud where I either have and subscribe to platform as a service or infrastructure as a service. So maybe you're looking at you have some, how are you backing those up? So backing up to the cloud, it means a whole bunch of different things. I think really being more specific in our terminology, what we're talking about, as we start doing more and more of our computing in the cloud is really important.
I agree. So should we focus today primarily on like the Office 365 platform and what Microsoft does and doesn't offer, and what might make a third-party product more compelling to consider?
Yeah, we could do that, and I think it's the same as, you know, the general kind of things to think about with SaaS applications are the same across the board. So the reason generally people go to a SaaS is they don't have to deal with buying hardware, dealing with the networking, dealing with provisioning servers, maybe provisioning virtual patches on the OS, dealing with updates on the applications, all of that stuff. You move to a SaaS because you give that over to somebody. In the case of Office 365, they're really good at knowing the applications that they've built. And I know you guys are both experts and you deal with, you know, Exchange and Office apps all the time. But Microsoft, they know their timeline for when they're going to roll out. new stuff that's going to go into the application. They probably know bugs before anybody else. Maybe the first customer found a bug, but then they know about it better than anybody else that encounters it. So what they've done with 365 is really pretty cool. So what they do is they have their engineers actually on board watching what happens with problems in their different applications on Office 365, so that they see that the engineers are responsible for it. They have to build products as they keep going forward. What this means for customers is you don't ever have to worry about an Exchange server going down. You don't ever have to worry about patching any of these things. You don't ever have to worry about you don't have to worry about sizing a server, and if you've got the IOPS config, if you've got all that configured correctly so you can get the right storage and all the rest of it. Microsoft's taking care of the hardware, the software, the VMs, because it runs on Hyper-V. They take care of everything, but they don't take and the data that's in that. So they've done a really good job at making it so that the data as it exists with them while they're responsible for it, that it's going to be protected. So they do the DR. They make sure that there's multiple instances running. They bring it up. They make sure it's there. What they can't do is protect you from yourself. The easiest example, and this is not just Microsoft, this is any SaaS provider. If an authorized user issues a command on their tenant, Microsoft has to honor it, and you want them to honor it. You don't want them to have some secret place where they're squirreling away backups for you in case by accident your users delete something. So if we take the case of just mail, with email, I'm hearing myself now, so it's freaking me out. Sorry. with email, on Microsoft on 365, users can do a lot of stuff by themselves, which is great. They're enabled. So they can delete their email, they can empty their recycle bin just like they used to do. If it gets to the recycle bin and they've emptied it, you get 14 days unless an admin has extended to 30 days, and then it's completely gone off of the tenant unless you've got policies set up or unless you have litigation hold set up. So when it goes to things like that, the information might still be someplace on the tenant in the cloud. It's really, really, really hard to get back to the Apple Handy. So there's cases where things can get deleted and be gone, and you don't know about it until it's too late. There's cases where we've seen things like people that are kind of new to 365, and it is kind of new, they misconfigure the policies and end up deleting all the email after 2 years instead of having it preserved for longer than that. And then people rely on Microsoft putting things on litigation hold. They don't realize how difficult it is to restore that back into the application. It's not as simple as kicking up what you're used to having for your backup application and mounting up the folders and dragging and dropping the files or folders that were deleted over. It's much more complicated and time-consuming than that. And that's kind of where spanning comes in. We come into that space. So we back everything up. It's saved in a different location. It's not on the tenant anymore. All secure, in transit, at rest, all of it. Really super easy to use, and that's kind of the really cool thing about it. It's easy enough that your users can use it. If they need to go back and search for an email that they've deleted or a folder that they've deleted, they can search for it and they can restore it themselves. You don't even have to be involved. So it's that simple to use. I feel like I've talked a lot now, but that's where the use case is. It mostly for restoring. It's really, really easy to back up. We take care of all of that for you on a different location. We restore it right back in the application, so you're not going around looking for the files and trying to put them into a PST file and mount them someplace else and explain to the users, hey, is this the right emails? And that's kind of what happens right now with 365. I'm not talking anymore now. Are you guys there?
We're here.
Was I not
We're
amazing?
both here. Yes, you are that amazing.
Whatever. So that's pretty much how it works. It's basically, there is a gap between what the SaaS providers can protect you from, and there's a space where data can be lost, and that's kind of the place that we fill in.
So I have a question, Gina, or I guess not a question, but does it really matter where your data is at? I mean, shouldn't you just be responsible for it? I mean, regardless if it's in the cloud or on-prem, I mean, does it really matter?
I think that's why we've always done backups, right? So I mean, if you need that data, if that data is there and being generated by your business, you probably
But
want to
should
have
you
it. That's why we do
shouldn't you
backups
still
for that
like
immediate
shouldn't
restore.
you still be responsible for your own data? Even though you go to the cloud, uh, there's only so much your provider can provide for you. So, you know, in my eyes, regardless of where it is, that you're still responsible for it.
I see. I agree with you totally, but I guess a lot of people don't think about it, or they don't understand that what you're paying the provider for isn't to make sure all of your data is always there, no matter what happens to it. That's not their job. You're like you're saying, you're responsible for your data. That's what your business runs on. So, at the end of the day, you're the one that's responsible for making sure if you need it, you can get it back if something happens to it.
So
Well,
I think this.
I
is
think
this
Kevin.
the? Yeah, sorry, my phone completely died. I had to battery buddy it, but whatever. We're talking about EMC spanning backups.
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, I think any cloud app backup technology at this point it would have to be in addition to an enterprise type backup. I would think that where you would see the big pro of it would be the mobile workforce, like you were saying, with Microsoft 360, that kind of stuff. That's great because you don't have to have that laptop connected anywhere to your infrastructure. You can be in Maui or on the beach in Guam and back your stuff up to the cloud. So that's all real great. But the other concerns with backing up to the cloud is, okay, well, I always need to have an internet connection, right? So what happens if your site goes completely black and you have no internet connection? How do you get your data back? And that goes to the SLA, right? So if you have a service level agreement for, like, say, a SQL box or an Oracle box or something like that, you need to have that data back in X amount of time. And the pipe that you would need to get that much data back down into your production environment would make it prohibitive. And then of course you have the legal concerns, legislative compliance, and you had already pointed out that you have encryption at rest, you have encryption when it's traveling. That's all good, but especially with like a healthcare organization like Boomel and I work for, there's a lot of compliance stuff and regulation stuff around that. Massive security concerns, which I'm sure you've heard with any type of cloud backup app. But the pros again, I still think it's an additive. You have to have an enterprise type backup solution, and the pros I think would be huge for the mobile workforce. But
yeah, so like I think that's kind of like going back to the whole talking about when we talk about cloud backup, what do we mean? So one thing that I find interesting is from the research that they've been doing on who's actually using SaaS applications and who's actually moving to, in you guys' case, there's a lot of things that prohibit people from doing what they used to call shadow IT, right? But 30% of the application spend in most organizations right now is going towards SaaS already. So it's moving away from, in non-regulated areas, I would say for sure, it's moving away from being shadow IT. It's actually part of IT. So so there has, and I agree with you. Your data, especially if it's on, if you've got it on infrastructure as a service or platform as a service, you've got to have all sorts of thought process. And what if that goes black? How do I get it down? All of the rest of it. With SaaS applications, it's kind of a different model because if the SaaS application goes down, then it's down anyways, and they have all sorts of SLAs around it to make sure that they don't go down. So, but there's still a way to lose data just purely from using SaaS. So if you're an organization that doesn't have the regulations y'all have, or if you've been able to um, to 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 write if you've been able to figure out the compliance documentation so that you can do it, um, which isn't always able, you're not always able to do that. But if you're able to use SaaS, that's a different type of backup that has to happen that may never come back to on-prem. If you're using infrastructure or platform as a service, then yeah, definitely you may want to look at maybe not keeping that. I think there's just different ways to see it.
So a few things kind of hit home with me that both of you have mentioned. So one is, Gina, you had mentioned that some administrators, they don't know what they don't know. So there might be aspects of the product that aren't configured to the degree that they could be. Microsoft has a lot of really great built-in solutions for data retention, but if they're not configured or not configured to their highest potential, then having something else like a cloud-based backup solution is almost like an insurance policy to just ensure that you have access to that data should something unforeseen happen, which also ties back to what the two of you just discussed with, well, what if you lose your internet connection and those backups can't continue? Well, then hopefully in that case, what you're doing with Microsoft in terms of their retention models would then protect your organization and allow you to do the types of recoveries you need. So, you don't know what you don't know, and you cannot predict what could possibly happen to your data. So the more levels of backup you have, the better off you're going to be as an organization.
And I think with SaaS, what's interesting, like Salesforce is a great example. So a lot of time organizations will have these really elaborate dashboards for their sales teams, and all sorts of reports feed into it, and you'll maybe get someone new, or you'll send an intern in to go and clean some stuff up, and they'll change a dashboard in ways that breaks the reporting that nobody realized it was all tied together. And one of the things that we can do is able to put this really, really quickly. And because it's a simple mistake, people don't realize they're breaking something, and it's very difficult from the way the SaaS applications work to find that data and put it back yourself. And that's kind of where we step in and try and just keep business flowing along, the same as a backup app would act on-prem. So our premises. So that's another reason why.
Isn't that word annoying? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I usually just say on-prem because on-premises is hard to say, and on-premise is not correct.
Not right. I know, right? That is true.
Yeah. So
but
we didn't really. Is Kevin still connected? We didn't really introduce Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin's the expert, right?
Right. He's our pop-in guest this evening, and he's a backup expert. Yeah. How long have you been in IT? Just a little bit about yourself. In IT? Welcome to IT. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh. Awesome.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah, that's a phenomenon that happens.
Mhm.
Legislative compliance type concerns, and SLAs. How quickly can we get it back? We're an enterprise size shop. But again, not to poo-poo the cloud altogether with backups, I still think, the pros for our mobile workforce or anybody's mobile workforce, this type of stuff would be a boon. Depending on cost, of course, I mean, what's the cost of this? Like, is it per terabyte, on the back end,
Privileges on 365, and all you do is you authorize us to be on your tenant, and you license the users you want, and that's how it's paid for. And I'm going to
And
say the
what's it
wrong
like?
price. I don't want it. It's per user per user per year,
It's like
and
$5.
a month. It's like I'm going to look it up because if I say the wrong thing, I'm going to get fussed at, and I don't want to get fussed
No,
at. So hang
I
on.
just
No quotes on podcasts.
right, right.
Okay.
Well,
It's per user,
I'm
and,
messing
and, and,
around
it'll,
anyway.
and it depends. You can go to the spanning.com website because we won't thank you no price. But
Speak to a
it's
salesperson, right?
yeah, and it kind of all does
Exactly.
depend. But with the way we're licensed is per user per year. So we are a true SaaS application that way. That's been the fun part because I mean I've been a PMM before for regular backup software, not cloud backup software. And it's very different working in, we work on continual release, much like Microsoft does, right? So when there's something ready to be released, they just turn it on for their users, and we do the same thing. So I get like a target date, and I'm actually working on a launch right now. I get a target date, but it's when they get it ready. And if there's a big call for something to be released to our users earlier, then they'll bump that up and they'll work on that faster. So it's per user per year, and you get all the features with it, and it depends on your salesperson, honestly, and the
Well,
size of
are
your
you
shop.
guys are you guys shooting for the enterprise, or are you shooting
Yes,
for like the? Oh, you are shooting for enterprise.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And I should get you and Pumla hooked up with a trial if you want to, if you're interested. I think you can just take it for a test drive, see what you think.
Sure.
Because that's the best way to see like what it actually is. And I think that's kind of been the fun thing about this too. I used to do training for EMC, right? Training classes for SAN actually. So there's so much misconception, and I think that the misconception is around had this cloud, and you have like these wars around what is cloud, what does it mean, what is the cloud, and you should go to the cloud or whatever, and can you say premises or not, or on-prem, and just stupid things. And I'm fatigued over all of it. Like I don't want to think about it, and now I'm actually working on a product, and I have to, and it just looks like a clear to me. Let's talk about what this is for real. What are we doing? There's no magic stuff behind the cloud. The cloud means different things depending on how you're using these services. And you have to figure out from a backup admin or just an IT admin, you have to figure out, all right, we've made this decision to go to the cloud in whatever form it is. Now, how do I work this in so that it fits everything else so that I'm compliant, so that nobody yells at me because they can't get their data back in the reasonable amount of time we were used to? How do you make the really okay to let somebody else handle the servers and stuff, and move on to something different? But we've been so cloud washed about what is the cloud. It makes it hard to engage with the thought process of, okay, what do I need to do to protect my environment and to get us moving to something new? That's how I feel. I don't know. Do you feel that way? I'm like putting words in your mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
That's how I feel.
I call it off-site storage because that's all it is. I'm putting my stuff over there instead of over here.
So that's
There you
one way,
go.
right? That's one way, right? So like, yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting close to needing to wrap up the show. Um, yeah.
That's how he
You
likes
wanted
it.
me to repeat that mess? No.
It was really awesome. You should. It was.
All right. Well, you're over here calling me a genius every 5 seconds and an expert, so I just say I'm a pizza delivery guy and it takes all the pressure off.
Anything's possible.
Sure.
We are. We were acquired by Spanning about a year. By Dell. I'm all confused now. We were acquired by EMC about a year ago, and I came to Spanning from Dell, and I used to work at EMC, so it's confusing.
So it could all come together here. How fun.
Yeah, I know. It's that is a very interesting story for sure. It's going to be interesting to see what plays out, and it'd be cool if they announced something like for real, because all rumors right now.
Right.
So lots of situations, and it's really fun playing like armchair quarterback with everybody. But be interesting if they can announce something at Dell World, because Dell World's in a couple of weeks here in Austin. So.
Oh, maybe that would be good timing.
Well, they were partners before. They were very close partners before. Actually,
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and to
It
think that
is.
dude started building PCs in his garage.
well, in his dorm room. It wasn't in his garage. It was in his dorm room, I
Well,
think.
even better. You have
You
the beer
see,
pong
yeah.
table, and the computer bench.
I like Michael Dell a lot, so it's interesting to watch what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that particular investor has been kind of bullying IT for a while too. I know they were picking on VMware a couple years ago already. They've been talking, or they're on the board at Citrix now. So it's kind of an interesting thing to watch unfold. I think bullying is a good word. It feels that way. Um, so we'll see what actually happens. No, 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 it's a Hangouts thing. We had that, yeah. So the Twilight Zone occurred last week as well to our guest. Yes, we definitely are. Yep.
Well, that's good because this has completely sucked. I think I've caught like maybe 5 or 6 sentences of here and there, and yeah, it's ridiculous.
Sometimes it works perfectly, but mostly it doesn't.
See, Kevin, I thought we had a good conversation, so I don't know.
We
Maybe you
did,
didn't
Well,
take
we
Gene.
anything I
did.
said.
The conversation The conversation's great. I mean, the content is awesome. You know, but there's just something about this platform that we have audio issues from week to week. Anyways, we are still live. And we apologize to any viewers we may have. We definitely will go back. We've been starting to do some editing to make sure that some of this type of stuff that we get faced with is edited out. So thank you so much, Gina and Kevin, for joining us. It was wonderful, Gina, especially to have you back, and Kevin as a first-time guest. It was awesome. So, yeah.
That's right. You want a pepperoni pizza? Well, that's what happens when you drink a bottle of wine in 45 minutes. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to Current Status, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Have a great have a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.